Hi everyone.
Hello.
We know it's the end of the day, so thanks very much for joining us. Hopefully you're not too tired. We're here obviously to talk about development and brand team collaboration. So it's something that we really pride ourselves on at CA actually, because we think it works so well, and that's what we'll go into here. So first we'll explain us. Doesn't work, does it? Your little pointer.
Here you go.
Okay, there we go. So I'm Tom Hawkins. I don't need to read this really, do I? But lead content producer on Total War. So I look after things like the YouTube channel, Twitch and video production. So basically everything that's video content, and that goes on social media, and we use that as marketing material really to promote our Total War series. And I joined CA just over 2 years ago now.
My name is Dom. I joined CA in 2008 after having done a master's degree in design and theory. I've worked at CA for many years, as you can tell. I've shipped 8 standalone titles. I will do when 3 Kingdoms comes out next week. But I also spent a couple of years teaching in the interim, so hopefully I have a good handle on the education side of games as well. And so we're here to talk to you, as Tom says, about the collaboration between brand and development.
So we're going to quickly show you just a little show reel for those people that don't really know what Total War is. So it's all creative assembly as well, yeah. So it's
not just Total War.
Yeah, so there's a mixture here. So we've got a bit of arena thrown in there, which is a multiplayer only RTS game. Total War is obviously our RTS. There's Halo Wars in here as well. You can obviously see a trending theme here with RTSs. But we've also done things like Alien Isolation, which has now been really revered and.
In my opinion, it's one of the best adaptations of a cinema property. Really done with so much love and detail. It's fantastic.
And that's not a biased opinion because you didn't work on it.
I didn't work on it, no.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy being terrified by it.
There you go. We can pretty skip through now. We also have a mocap studio at CA, which is
the largest one in Europe, or in the UK.
Largest one in the UK, I think now, yeah. But it means that we do all of our motion capture in-house, which is great, yeah. So it means that we often go there, and I'm doing it just to film stuff, but it's really great for our cinematic artists and stuff, and a lot of marketing material, because we can actually have real life motion in there, which is great.
Great for the animators.
Yes, for sure, yeah.
Sweet. So after that little promotional reel, let's talk a bit about the Creative Assembly. We're one of the oldest, largest game development studios in the UK and in fact probably Europe. We were founded in 1987, started off making a bunch of ports from Amiga to PC, MS-DOS ports, and then kind of got a bit well known making sports games, so rugby and cricket, things you don't really associate with Creative Assembly nowadays. But that was kind of our bread and butter back in the day. Then with Shogun, Total War, the original one, kind of broke through in this strategy, real-time, turn-based hybrid that we've now become really known for. Since then, we've created 13 standalone Total War games, which is a hell of a lot. Some of those are more sort of extensions of larger sort of era titles, but still 13 is a pretty impressive number. And many titles aside, like Alien Isolation, we already mentioned, it's a very well-received game. And we did our spin on console RTS with Halo Wars 2, which did very well as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so we'll talk about, if we go to the next slide, not working for you? I will press the space bar. So we'll kind of talk about the difference in the studio size and the brand team size, which is obviously something that's grown over this period. So back in 2004, which is when Rome 1 released, which is very popular Total War game, had a studio size of 50 with a brand team size of just one person. That person still works at the studio actually as a designer now. Yeah.
Well, I joined in 2008, and you can see, like in the space of 4 years, the team over doubled in size. There were 3 times as many people working in branding and marketing, and organising PR trips and communicating with the publisher brand team. So we used to communicate a lot more with Sega, and things were dealt with largely at the Sega offices. But then, with the release of Rome 2, which for us was a major step forwards in terms of where we wanted to take the brand, the team size exploded again.
Yeah, so in 2012, which is, as Dom said, the release of Rome 2, the studio size at 200, but with a brand team size of 7. So That's around the time that our current brand director joined, with his kind of vision to then get the brand team to where it is now, which is a much larger size, which we'll go into on the next slide. Which I'm guessing.
Picture here, you see, this is like 1999, I think. So there's maybe 25 people. So you can see strength to strength. Small team grows up to be enormously large. And now we're looking at 500 odd people to create something. So it's crazy how much that stuff can escalate. So today we have 7 project teams working on various projects, be they sort of main titles or sort of DLC spin-offs. There are support teams that deal with central teams, central teams who sort of service every single other team, people who do the graphics engine and tools programmers, your very own brand team. But just for an example of how big these teams can be, I'm sure some of you would be interested. At its peak, the Three Kingdoms team, which is where I work, we had 110 developers working on it at one time, and that's with 80 QA, making sure that everything was running smoothly or helping us find massive problems to fix. So that's 37 artists. Too many artists here? Yay! A lot of artists required. That includes animators as well. The number I got were a bit sort of fudged, but 10 audio, 16 designers, and that includes writers, 42 programmers. Can't make a game without programmers, not a digital game at any rate. So that's where sort of the bulk of the man count goes. And then 5 people helping us produce, helping us manage that development process, which is huge. So 110 people. I'm sure many of you will be working teams of between 3 and 10 maybe.
Yeah, it's massive, yeah. And so then you've got the brand team today. We've got a lovely little photo of some of us there. So we're one team, again, a core team that works alongside the whole studio. So we touch on all of the titles. And the breakdown of that roughly is brand managers. So they all have their own individual titles, so they kind of know that product really in depth. Kind of they're product managers as well. You might know them as that kind of term. You've then got the community team, which is social media managers and stuff like that. And my team falls in there as well, which is the content team, making all that video content and live streaming. PR, obviously dealing with press, and also influencer management, which is really growing more and more as more people just can make their own content. It's a really good asset for game studios, really, to get people that are passionate about their games, talking about them. You've then got the web development team, and obviously the core management team there as well. So as you can see, we've now got a team of 35. From one, however many, 15 years ago. So quite large growth, and even, in 5 years it's grown from 7, which is more of a growth. And but we're reaping the rewards of that now with the amount of stuff we're putting out. So this is the kind of stuff that we've done in the last year as a brand team. So the content team have made 94 videos. So that's things like Let's Plays and kind of featurettes on little bits of gameplay content to help promote the game. We also did 600 hours of streaming, which, a lot just in 1 year, so it's a lot of gameplay to show. But when we're working on that many titles, it's really, really useful for us to be doing that. And creating social assets as well. The cinematics team, who make kind of more high-level marketing materials, have worked on 19 trailers. And also worked in games, so that's where the cinematic role is quite interesting, because it's a kind of hybrid between the development kind of side and marketing side, where it's obviously very marketing led, but they also have some interaction with.
They create our cutscenes and our cinematics, our in-game flyovers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a cool little hybrid role there. And even in my team, we've had an opportunity to do some in-game assets as well, just because there's a skill overlap between the development side and the marketing side. And then the social team, promotion on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, reaching 142 million people on our content, which is obviously awesome. But yeah, just to give you an idea of kind of what the marketing team has done compared to, that 2012 team probably did 6 or 7 Let's Plays during that time and 6 or 7 videos during a year, way less.
We didn't have social outreach that we do now.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone maybe chiming in on forums and keeping in touch with the community, but 142 million is a big number.
Yeah.
About the videos?
Yes, so obviously we've got different types of videos here, so different types of Let's Plays and gameplay trailers, something that we've even get to make as well. And also, in the bottom right, you can see some people might know Dylan Sprouse. which is from Zach and Cody, who's actually a really big fan of our games, and so, like, we get to and Warhammer. So we had an opportunity to work with him, which was obviously really awesome, really good opportunities for us, and it's quite cool thing for just the studio in general. Just when you're working to have someone. Obviously, not everyone knew who he is, but some of us younger ones did.
It's kind of interesting to see like each of these is a different development team. So the brand team has worked with each one of these individual teams to make sure that their content is disseminated to the public and to the community in the most effective way. Which is, your work's cut out for you with all the stuff that's happening in parallel. It's fantastic.
So I'm giving you a bit of a backstory. We'll show some of the benefits of actually having an on-site brand team compared to when it's more publisher side. So one of the really great ones is the immediacy of this collaboration and feedback. So Dom works upstairs from me, so if he's working on a feature, I can just go, right, I don't need to either message him and then talk there, or literally just walk upstairs and use the fact that we are literally 10 meters apart and just go up and chat about the game, and it means that we can promote that feature even better, and we learn the game in much more depth, and can speak to our players and relate to them a bit better. Yeah.
Obviously, as developers, we know our games inside out. We know what works, what doesn't. And we can communicate that in the most effective way to people who are effectively trying to communicate that out. And they themselves, like people like Tom, they're Token War fans, or they're fans of the games that we ourselves produce. So to have in-depth sort of community knowledge in-house is a great benefit to us, and helps us then reach out to the community and communicate more effectively with them.
Yeah, definitely. So we've put here in-house influencers. So as I said, influencers are becoming more and more important, and that's kind of what my team's role is we become these in-house influencers that will feedback on the game. And where it gets really interesting is we can actually, we're kind of have a QA role in a way as well, obviously not to the same level, but we're interacting with them on basically how we feel the game is playing, because we're playing through it.
They're playing more like end users as opposed to people who are just trying to dig down and find what's broken and doing sweeps and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to have that sort of more player-centric QA approach in-house.
Yeah, and not only does that benefit the development team because they have kind of boots on the ground knowledge directly in your ear, it also benefits the player because they get to see a good result at the end of it. Yeah.
And we mentioned all the projects that we work on, that they're servicing. They get to see from one project to the next what works, what doesn't, and they can actually help communicate those to us so that we know better what worked and what didn't from team to team, because we may not always have that same level of communication. We'll have that same oversight because we're very focused on what we're trying to produce.
So to put it into context, like you've worked on one game over the last year and a half, 2 years or whatever, whereas I've worked on 5, but for shorter periods. So while my knowledge isn't as in depth, I'm kind of having to jump from every kind of 3-month period to a new title. But then obviously our whole team brings that knowledge across, and then obviously that benefits you guys because we can feedback. Be like, well, actually the community didn't respond well to this, and gives you great knowledge on the game and how the community are feeling.
Assess how to approach certain features, or at least how to communicate certain features. So to get those out of them.
Yeah, definitely. Should we go to the next slide? Yeah. So we'll give some case studies on kind of showing those a bit better. So for Three Kingdoms, using it as an example, because obviously Don worked on that. The first gameplay reveal is a really key piece of gameplay footage for us because it gets the most outreach. So that hit 1.6 million views, which is good for us. But that had a lot of involvement from the dev team. It is very development led. So they'll, because obviously the game is much earlier in development. It's a year out from that point still. So things are a bit more scripted and a bit more fine tuned just for this scenario because that's how game development works.
To get the best possible impression, first impression is with the strongest one you'll ever get of your game. So it's important to us that we dictate that which is shown, but then we work closely with you to ensure that it's told in the most exciting manner possible. That was playable with CRP, wasn't it?
It's been playable throughout the campaign, but
to have a playable demo as the first sort of hands-on, eyes-on is terrifying. So to have the support from brand at that point to ensure that that's communicated smoothly is invaluable to us.
Yeah, and then this one's a few months later down the line, which then had a kind of medium level of involvement. So the game's obviously still. I'm trying to think of what stage it was at. Was it in alpha at that point, or was it just before? I can't remember, but. The game's still very heavily in development. There's still a lot of wheels turning, so we still need quite a lot of involvement from the dev side, even though we will kind of come up with the script and the idea of what this gameplay will show based on the marketing
narrative. We're providing fresh builds, making sure things are working stable. You're creating a narrative using the feature that you're trying to communicate out there. And yeah, sometimes things don't work. Obviously, it's early days, things are broken, and then that also helps because you guys are, as talented content producers, the brand team is able to touch up things that glitch out or what have you in a way that helps communicate what the future will be like. Because at that point in development, there's always going to be things that don't quite work as expected or as they should.
It's the reality.
It's the reality, yeah. Right? It's not released by any means. That was quite a few months ago.
Yeah. And then obviously now just a couple of months ago we had a Spies gameplay video, which is a new feature in the new Total War game, and this one was very brand led. So this was us completely scripting it. Didn't really require much involvement because the game is starting to really take shape at this point. And obviously there's bits that we need to look at and avoid looking at, but all together it's really coming together.
They'll come to us and be like, what's cool about this new feature? What can we talk about? What's there? And then at that point, it's down to us to be like, this is how our feature works. It's there in the game. Go and see it. Make a story around it. Communicate it.
Yeah. So that kind of starts with us saying, okay, we've got this marketing hit that we need to hit for this date, which was obviously the 17th of January. So it was kind of early December time, wasn't it? We organised meetings, and so you have a big meeting with who are the key. Stakeholders, thank you. The key stakeholders from the brand team that need to be working on the asset, and then with all the key stakeholder developers as well, all getting into a room and just really hashing out what can be done. And the thing that was so exciting with this is because it was a new feature, we end up trying to push the possibility of how far this feature can go. So for our side, obviously we're players of the game anyway, as this kind of in-house influencer role. And
as players, you're also discovering these features for the first time and really digging down into it, which is exciting for them.
Yes.
Exciting for us. They discovered all sorts of interesting play styles and ways of undermining the AI or sabotaging their strategy. It's great to hear those stories come out live as they're developing. It really positively reinforces your process. Yeah, it's a great bonus to everyone because it excites us about the asset we're going to make, which ultimately makes a better asset, and also excites us about the future we're making. So really helps having us there because again, if it was more publisher side, that interaction wouldn't really happen. It's more of just kind of shooting off the information or even the final bits, and it's like, well, here you go. And when someone from brand walks past on a notification and means, you'll never guess what happened. This army that's about to take on the enemy. 3 of the generals and it was spies, and you're like, yes, the feature's working.
Yeah.
I ruined your game, but I don't care.
Yes.
My feature's working.
Yeah. It's great positive reinforcement. Ruins my day. So another one that works slightly differently is live streams. So we stream every week, and this one has a slightly different process. I am holding a panda in case you notice. Doesn't need to be asked. Yes, so for this is a bit different because we're working on live builds. So obviously it's during development. We're still a lot of wheels turning, which means the state of the build can change and vary day to day. So this is where having us in-house is so useful because we need to be having these discussions every day as to what's really broken and what's working. What do we need to completely avoid? Because otherwise,
but at Stretch as well, we can ensure there's a stable build with the latest features up to date for them as well. So you have a perfect way of disseminating the gameplay to the wider audience. Whilst we still work on a current build that might be a bit more experimental in the development team. Yeah,
and it works as a really good collaboration. And another really good thing is that it's actually really great for the devs because a lot of them watch us play the game.
Pseudo process, I kind of fake it because I'm sitting there working and I'll have him up on my second screen. I'll be watching it like, crap, that shouldn't be there. Like, it would work better if this happened. Or you'll react strongly to a certain thing, and we'll celebrate that and reinforce that. But being able to sit there and watch it play as you're working is actually pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and it's actually a great case for kind of people properly playing the game, because often QA will be looking for ways to break the game, and obviously there are people doing genuine playthroughs, but this is a great one to see literally everything, and there's no break in it.
You're playing as players would.
Yes, yeah, completely. And it also gives us a really great opportunity to give community feedback and sentiment. So we can talk directly with, we're listening to the community talk to us and can directly feedback that to the devs and be like, actually, this feature kind of would be better in this way, and obviously just suggest it, and then we can take it from there. And some features have worked like that for sure.
Yeah, some things do benefit from fresh set of eyes, or in this case, however many thousands, tens of thousands of people actually watch the live streams.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we can see a lot of people throwing up like, okay, well, this is a massive issue, and it kind of gives us a really good scale as to where people are problems.
How awesome things are going.
That as well, for sure.
Occasionally we have a couple of crashes, but that's game dev, right?
Yeah, and that's what's so great about live streams as well, is that kind of open development.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to, it's a good opportunity to see more about development as well, is just watching in development games streaming for sure. And then our last sort of case study is
the community thing you mentioned.
Yeah.
We have the chance to actually directly speak to the community, not just through the involvement you have with dealing with them based on the live Let's Plays, but then following those, or following the reveals, I think quite often. We'd also sit down and do a Reddit Ask Us Almost Anything, and then we get a bunch of devs into the room with a bunch of you lot, and sit down and answer the burning questions that the community have.
Yeah, it gives for a really good interaction, and live feedback and stuff like that.
Yeah. Largely led by you guys.
Yeah, of course. And then, of course, all of this leads to many career opportunities. Because so for us, obviously, I came into a marketing role, but I actually still get involved in some of the development and some feedback, and can really make some sort of an impact in how the game does look at the end, just with suggestions of being like, oh, actually, does this work in this way? So it's like, even though I don't have a development role, it's a really interesting role to have, where you can change the way things turn out.
So the way to look at this, I think people often champion the fact that you don't have to be directly developing to be part of the development team itself. It's like, you are part of the development team if you're not developing something, because your feedback is invaluable to us, and that's part of the game creation process. And you don't necessarily need to get into games. You don't necessarily need to be fluent in any of the core disciplines. For example, if you are more along the lines of someone who has come from influencing and live streaming, YouTube and that kind of thing, you can actually come in and make an impact on the evolution and development of the title by way of something like we've been describing today.
Yeah. Does anyone stream here, actually? Anyone do any streaming? No? Oh, one at the back, yeah. Because it can be a really useful skill, really in demand. So, can kind of lead to an opportunity. And obviously, some people have swapped over from the marketing team into the dev team, including the guy we mentioned earlier, who's now
our first man, who's now I think lead on Warhammer.
Yeah.
Or no, project director.
Yeah. Cool.
But hang on.
Go on.
Hang on. That's all right.
Why you do that to me?
But yeah, I mean, no matter what you're good at, if you're coming from a development discipline side, wanting to go into brand, or someone with sort of video editing, graphic design skills, looking to bring that into game development problems, the core disciplines, either way works, and there's opportunities for everyone. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Are there any questions?
Have the brand team ever gone ahead and done something, and the studio have gone, actually, wait, we can't do that?
I'd say that's pretty rare if that ever would happen, purely because, again, we are in the studio, so usually, because we really, you guys would never see something once it's out. So when we're working, it's a very close collaboration. So we'd make an asset, and then we would, during its first kind of phases, so we really rough around the edges, we'll send it off to key stakeholders in the development team, send it off to a few people, they'll send all their feedback, and then we'll put in that feedback and put that in place. So it might be, actually massive graphical bug, so actually you need to reshoot this whole section of this gameplay, and then so we do that. So rarely would there be a situation where that happens, and that is exactly one of the benefits of having this brand team, integrated into the development studio, is that you can have that relationship. And obviously we know you guys really well as well, so it's always a good.
Good to see the work in progress is always great for us as well, because then we get the feedback into the narrative they're telling. There's no, because we're talking the whole time, we're always seeing each other's work and ensuring that it's up to worthy of the product that we're
final vision.
The final vision, exactly. I don't think we're in a situation where, if you were to go and fire the gun and do something without consulting us, it would probably be extremely bad.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would happen. It's just not possible, given the way we work together.
Yeah.
It's not strictly relevant, but I was kind of reminded of a lot how you were talking about how the sort of community culture can affect the design.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering that Creative Assembly is one of those kind of peculiar companies that, because it's been going for so long, it's sort of similar to companies like Bethesda, where you have a long history of games that are still played well into the past, have a lot of kind of mod support. And from a designing point of view, I was just kind of curious, do you ever kind of look at that when you're going into new games, about the ones that are still being played and the kind of the reasons that they're still being played for it? And I'm just curious if that ever kind of factors into it. And if it does, if there's ever like a copyright issue, if you're like, oh, this mod gets played a lot because it has this system or whatever, like.
I can't speak specifically to that.
So there's a couple for Warhammer actually, where the community have made a feature that the dev team had already planned that they were going to work on, and it's this kind of awkward obviously the stuff that the community make is great, and then obviously our one is integrated into the game, so it's like obviously that would be preferable to the players. But so there's been a couple of scenarios. So there was one where I can't remember what the feature was, but basically it was a mod and was created by the community, and then it was already a gameplay feature that we were putting in. We put it in, but to say kind of like, sorry, we basically named a couple of maps from that update on them to be like, sorry, we did that. Obviously, we can't tell you what our schedule is, so it's like an awkward exchange. But so there's a couple of scenarios of that happening in terms of like features being made at the same time. In terms of things going backwards, I can't.
I mean, we're all the dev side and the brand side. We're all people who've been playing Total War. In the Total War example, it's since day one. And every time we move into a new era, a new title, we're always looking back at what we've done to see what worked, what didn't work, in order to really refine our art, to hone that. And sometimes, we will play it. We'll play the modded versions of them as well, because there have been many good mods over the years. And that sort of informs our understanding of our own sort of game brand on the whole.
So I guess not directly, but kind of indirectly, it kind of does influence it.
Yeah.
And obviously we've also done stuff for Rome 2. We released DLC for Rome 2 last year because we, as you said, still got a player base on all these old games, and I think there's still something like often 10,000 people playing that daily, which isn't bad at all. So yeah, we had obviously DLC for that last year, so we're still continuing to support them. Yeah, that is a long term. Yep.
With all the money that's being pumped into eSports now, do you guys build future games around eSports? Do you have an eSports avenue with Total War, or is that something you ever consider?
Did.
Yeah.
We've discontinued Arena.
Yeah, so we had Arena, which was that kind of multiplayer esports focused one, which has closed. I think Total War is a franchise that definitely leans itself towards that single player focus, and is what our players want, I guess. So yeah, not at the moment, but obviously it's a big part of the industry. So.
And part of strategy gaming on the whole.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Any other questions at all?
Cool. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the Games Festival.